Robert
13.
Spencer, welcome to the show. You are, among other things, the director of Jihad Watch. Your new book is called Arab Winter Comes to America, The Truth About the War We're In. And, of course, there's www.jihadwatch.org, which, along with MEMRI and CAMERA and a few other critical resources, Less Government and some others, and Media Research Center, are just great assets in your internet's and Google's portal. Jihadwatch.org. Robert Spencer. What's on your mind today, sir?
Well, we have another fake hate crime in North Carolina.
I saw that, he must be another one of those hateful, xenophobic, right-wing Christian Tea Party members, right?
Yeah, that's what they would have you believe. The reality of the situation, though, is that from his Facebook page, it's clear he's a hardcore leftist, a supporter of the Southern Poverty Law Center, a supporter even of the Ground Zero Mosque. And so it is, as it is now being reported, that this was about a parking dispute. He was obviously insane, and how else could he have been a supporter of the Southern Poverty Law Center anyway? And he killed these people because they had a fight over a parking space. And it had nothing to do with their being Muslim at all. There's no sign on his Facebook page that he has anything in particular against Muslims. That's far more anti-Christian than that. If he was going to commit a hate crime, this guy, he would have killed Christians. And that does not mean that the usual suspects, the Hamas-linked Muslim Brotherhood Front Group, the Council on American Islamic Relations, and others, are running with this. They want and need hate crimes against Muslims to buttress their claim that Muslims are innocent victims of hatred and Islamophobia in the United States. And, it's all just trumped up in order to deflect attention away from the reality of jihad terror.
Our vast research staff here at the station, led by the great Mike Mikowski, has revealed that this killer's Facebook likes include the Huffington Post, Rachel Maddow, the Southern Poverty Law Center, Freedom From Religion Foundation, Bill Nye the Science Guy, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't even know who that is. Who's he, Neil deGrasse Tyson?
I don't know. You got me there.
And then I think about 100 so-called gay marriage groups. I don't know. But these are all, it's just an assortment of characters that not one of whom I would invite to a cocktail party at my house. And so what's going to be the upshot? It's just a tragic, crazed leftist murderer, I guess, and I hope he goes to jail for life or is killed. Do they have the I guess maybe he'll go for an insanity plea, right? Because his defense lawyers will focus on the Rachel Maddow Watcher insanity defense. What do you think, sir?
Yes. Well, if he really killed them over a parking space, then it seems like an insanity defense might fly real well.
Maybe he has PTSD from reading all those Huffington Post stories.
You never know.
It's hard to know.
Very likely.
Global warming and the sky falling and the polar bears dying and can you say jungle anymore? No, nobody wants to save a jungle. It's a rainforest. The rainforests are dying, burning up. What should we be thinking about the rise of ISIS? We learned on this program yesterday something I had no idea about. I didn't know the green flag of Islam was reserved for post-military action Islam, post-military action jihad. It is the flag of a country peacefully under the control of a caliphate. And the black flag is related to the pirate flag and is the flag of the caliphate at war, or at the war of jihad, to liberate lands in the name of Muhammad and Allah, the moon god. But where are we now with ISIS culture in the United States? It seems that everywhere I turn, local media outlets are reluctantly agreeing to report on good old boys from the neighborhood trying to get to Syria to fight for jihad.
Well, the thing is that this idea of the caliphate has extraordinary appeal among young Muslims, and that is being shown again and again with now 20,000 foreign fighters have gone to join the Islamic State, according to a new study. Now, that's extraordinary and a huge number, much more than we ever saw joining al-Qaeda or other jihad groups, and it shows that this idea that they are the new caliphate is very appealing to many, many young Muslims. But meanwhile, our authorities just content themselves with saying, oh, this has nothing to do with Islam, and that's that. So they completely foreclose on the possibility of any study to understand the enemy.
Mm-hmm. How did Benghazi serve as a canary in a coal mine, as a bellwether or an indicator for where we are today?
Well, it's much the same, that we supplied weapons to the anti-Gaddafi rebels, and they did not thereby become our friends. They instead used those weapons against Ambassador Stevens and the others on September 11th, 2012, and Barack Obama created the whole situation. It would not have happened if he had not backed the rebels there. And now he's doing the same thing, backing jihadis in Syria against Assad, giving them weapons which go essentially to the Islamic State. So it all comes from him.
Did you see, by the way, the remarkable BBC interview with Assad? It was quite a catch.
I did not, actually.
He really seemed very put together. I'd like your opinion on Assad. He makes it evident that Syria, the ruling family is a family, and he seems to sort of have things under control, which is very strange because Syria is not under control. But the strength, the seeming strength of all these leaders, including Vladimir Putin, by the way, and a situation in the Middle East and the Crimea, which is so out of control, seems to underline constantly on a daily basis an evident, purposeful show of weakness on behalf of the president and, by extension, the United States of America. It almost seems as if we have really been turned purposefully into a paper tiger. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, I think that that's exactly what happened. Look, it was very telling. In 2008, during his first campaign, Barack Obama was seen carrying Fareed Zakaria's book, The Post-American World. And Pamela Geller and I made that the title of our own book about Obama in 2010, The Post-American Presidency, because the thesis of The Post-American World, the central claim of the book, is that the United States needs to stand down, essentially. It needs to weaken itself politically, militarily, and economically. And then if there's no superpower in the world, and the U.S. is just another country among others, then there will be peace worldwide. This is the thesis of the book. And does not that match exactly what Barack Obama has done? He has deliberately weakened the United States in these areas. And this is the result, that we have Yemen pushing our Marines around.
It is a kind of a phenomenology based on a worldview, or even just a worldview, that could only come from a willful disregard of the history of the last 200 years, really, in the world, combined with some kind of a misplaced post-colonial activism. I'm always remembering this peculiar piece of news about our president having sent the bust of Winston Churchill back to England.
Yeah.
A very rude thing to do. What he did was rude, and he got a pass on it. No questions were asked. What do you think about this sort of line of bizarre events? I really am trying to wrap my head around the so-called leader of the formerly free world.
Well, I think that was a very emblematic incident. It was very telling. And it showed that he does not share the spirit of Churchill. He's not interested in considering himself to be in the line of those who saved the free world from the Nazis. He's probably embarrassed by Churchill because he's so pro-Islam, and he probably knows that Churchill has said some things that were very critical of Islam.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did. We have also been tracking, as I know you have, this business of the Muslim rape gangs. And peripherally, we learn that whereas the story was deep-sixed when it was known that there were somewhere north of 1,000 victims of these Muslim rape gangs in England, and presumably all over the rest of Western Europe, Now the numbers are extended to as many as 1 million potential victims, and law enforcement has no idea what to do about it. The media is very, very carefully trying to cover everything up. What has Jihad Watch learned, Robert Spencer?
There are thousands, maybe as many as 1 million girls who have been victimized, brutalized by these Muslim rape gangs that are operating according to the Quran's allowance for men to take sex slaves from among infidel women. And that is a very, very extraordinary event. I mean, you can see. I'm every time I think of it, I'm speechless. It's just astonishing that this would have happened.
What's really remarkable, Robert, it was, and again, I can't give you the report verbatim, but what happened was that there was a powerful indication, meaning 99% sure this is what happened, that law enforcement realized the problem was too big for it to handle, so they essentially ignored it. That was what I drew from this story in Rotherham, England. The size of the crime and the number of criminals and the extent of the criminality in general was so great that they knew that attempting to prosecute these crimes would completely overwhelm their government offices. And so they let it go. They said, we can't do anything about it. Does that fit in with what you've learned?
No, I really don't think that was it. Really, I think that it was more that they knew that the perpetrators were Muslim, and they were afraid that they would appear Islamophobic. There was a report that it was Labour Party people who were afraid that Labour would lose Muslim votes, and so they covered this whole thing up. So it's much more craven than this lack of resources.
So even what I had learned as a report was a false report? That's what you're saying?
Yes.
That's astonishing. Our guest, Robert Spencer, a man I admire very deeply, director of Jihad Watch at www.jihadwatch.org, also author of the new Arab Winter Comes to America, The Truth About the War We're In. Robert Spencer here, 1590 WCGO, The Franklin Raff Show. Thank you, Mr. Spencer.